Hey guys, I'm Mark,
I'm Alen.
and welcome to another episode of The Next Man Up. Well, hey Alen,
Hey, Mark.
good to see you again, my friend.
Yeah, you too, man.
Welcome back for another episode. Man, I can't tell you how much I appreciate your story and you sharing your story with us, and it's just really, really cool to see what you've become, and
Thanks, man.
and
Thanks, man.
how God has taken everything that was your past and your story and brought it to a point where it can be a gift, a gift of
man.
encouragement and healing and hope to those to whom you share it.
Yeah, dude. You know, I think stories are great, man. If we can be able to look back and see how we've become who we are as a person, it's just awesome. And then be able to share that with other people, I think it's cool. It was an honor to share my story, but Mark, I want to hear yours, man. I want to hear what's up with Mark, and then we're talking specifically about rite of passage and such. When did you first know that you were a man?
Yeah.
But tell me, what was young Mark like?
Yeah.
Start at the beginning, man.
Young Mark was nothing like young Alen.
Okay.
Which is, I think, part of the connection we have, right? Our stories just could not be different.
Yeah, different.
So I grew up in what I would categorize as a lower middle class family in southern rural Michigan. We were in southern Michigan, and my dad worked for the government, sort of a white collar job, but in a very blue collar city and community. My mom toggled between teaching piano at home and being at home with me and my brother, as well as working in the school system to be around us a little bit, to make a little bit of money to help out with the sports and the vacations and things that we did as a family. But my parents were in it. They were in it for each other. They were in it for my brother and I. They were in it from a passion and a commitment to follow God and live out what that looks like. Some of my earliest memories are Dad being involved in whatever we were doing. Whether it's in the backyard, rolling the ball, playing kickball with us, or all-time quarterback, or giving me pitches, so I could just swing the wiffle ball bat at the wiffle balls. Our home was the hub, and that's how my parents wanted it. We didn't have a whole lot to offer, but I didn't know any better. Materialistically, I didn't know any better when I was that age. I just knew that kids were always coming to our house, and in the summertime we always had a game going in the backyard.
So your house was like the house.
We were the hub.
Block.
We were the hub, and I think it was for a couple of reasons. One, that's what my parents wanted. They wanted everyone to feel welcome to come over. They wanted to parent us in a way that was close, instead of sending us out across the neighborhood. And the neighborhood wasn't that large, and it's not like a suburb is today. We knew all the families, we knew all the kids, but my parents were very intentional about it. And none of my friends' dads did what my dad did. He was always there. And so I think, I never asked them because I didn't have the awareness at the time. But I think if I were to go back and ask them, part of the appeal for them coming over is Mark's dad's going to play with us too.
That's awesome.
So my dad was there. He was in the backyard when I was young. He was on the sidelines when I played basketball. He was on the third base coaching block when I played baseball. My mom and dad were both active in the church growing up, either in music or in a youth program. So they were just involved, and so from that standpoint, I was given such a gift, such a heritage of committed parents, committed to each other, committed to their kids, committed to God. That's just a legacy that keeps on giving.
Sure.
There's a promise in the Old Testament about the blessing of a father being passed to 1,000 generations. Well, I am one of those generations that is blessed because my father gave. He gave of himself to me and to my brother. In fact, he was motivated in many ways because his father didn't. His father worked multiple jobs. Some of that was economic. He worked a couple of jobs. But his father was never involved in the way that my dad was. And in fact, my grandmother, his mother, did not see him play basketball until he was in college.
Oh, wow.
So the youth program, the school program, then off to college. Can you imagine?
Yeah, that's crazy.
She had the means, she just didn't. So my dad becomes a dad, and he's like, not on my watch. I want to do things differently.
Okay,
and so
he was intentional about that.
He was very intentional. It was very much the impact of how he was parented, and a shift that he wanted to make, a pivot. He wanted to be different. And so he was just all in. He was all in.
Okay.
He would travel to away games for me or for my brother. He would rearrange his schedule so that he could be part of whatever was going on.
He was winning Dad of the Year awards, man.
And I didn't fully appreciate how unique and special that was at the time. It was just my world.
Sure.
I just knew Dad's there and Mom's there, and they're taking care of us. They're helping us out.
Okay.
They're teaching me how to love each other. They're teaching me how to love God. They're teaching me how to grow up and find my way.
Okay.
So that was my start, like what a head start I had.
Great head start.
What a head start I had. So the older I get, the more I appreciate that gift that they gave me. And they still continue. Even to this day, they are speaking truth and life into my life.
That's cool, man.
As their son, but also now as grandparents for my kids. I'm getting ahead of myself. But it didn't just stop. They're both still alive. Sure. And I value their relationship, their friendship so much.
That's awesome.
So that was my head start. Fast forward into high school. And I'm this boy that sort of developed this sense of perfectionism, this sense of color inside the lines. I want to do things the quote unquote right way. I saw life very much black and white, and some of that might just be youthful ignorance, but sure. I wanted things to be black and white. I wanted it to be clear and simple. I wanted to know what the right answer was to the right question. And the other thing is I was always looking ahead. I didn't really spend much time in the moment. I was always looking to the next.
Sure.
Like when I was in middle school, I wanted to be in high school. When I was in high school, I wanted to be in college. I was always looking ahead. Well, in high school, I met a girl who was fantastic. Her name's Kristen, and we became very close with each other. We ended up graduating a year apart. I was a year ahead of her in high school. We went off to different colleges and continued to date. And just once we both made it through our freshman year, we knew that, okay, this is it.
Oh, that's awesome.
This is going to last. We just needed to finish the college process because we were in different places. And once that was up, she finished early. She was excited to marry up with me. Once we finished, we got married. And
I'm just hearing Eric Clapton in my head right
now. Yeah, exactly. Yes, thank you. Awesome. Where were you when I was proposing, or like when I needed some romantic, creative ideas?
Right.
So anyway, we graduated, we got married, we settled here in the Columbus area, and that was, gosh, that's like 23 years ago now.
Wow,
so
that's awesome.
It feels like a lifetime in some respects, and just like that in other respects.
Yep.
So we settle in here and we start to just establish our life together. We're accumulating things as part of a family. We got our first apartment, and a couple years later we've got our first house. We've accumulated some cars. She's got a good teaching job. I've got a good job with a local bank, a larger company here in town. Cool. And we're just loving life together. And we had been apart for 4 years of college, and so just to be together again was just, it was awesome. She was and still is my best friend.
That's awesome.
And it was fantastic to be together. So 4 years into marriage, we decided it's time to start having children and begin the family building process. And so that kind of takes me into my mid-20s.
Okay.
And so this is where it becomes germane to this idea of initiation. In all of that experience of growing up in a fantastic family with this head start and feeling like I had my head screwed on straight, I still just did not have confidence in what a man was and when someone became a man. And, I could go through all of the checklist, right?
Sure.
Of all the things that
Sure.
I had accomplished, from the driver's license to the college certificate to the accumulation of possessions and beginning to build your family balance sheet, right? Call it a car, call it a house, whatever. But it did not yet fill that need that I was beginning to realize I had. And that is just this idea of, have I arrived yet?
Yeah.
Am I enough? Will kids do it? Is it marriage? Is it the accumulation of things? Is it a career? And I just didn't know. And it's to some extent, I'm a little embarrassed to admit that even with this great start that I had, I still wasn't confident in whether or not I had become a man. I just didn't know.
Yeah.
I had all these great men, coaches, teachers, my dad included, that were in my life, gave me a fantastic start. But no one ever said to me, Mark, you are now a man. I never heard those words. And so in my mid-20s, I'm just having this reflection of, have I arrived? Where is it that you arrived to?
Yeah, right.
When do you arrive? It just. So I remember, and I've shared this story with you before. I remember seeing a documentary on a tribe in Vanuatu, out in the South Pacific.
Crazy, yeah.
And they have this manhood initiation process, which looks a lot like very crude bungee jumping, where they climb up this tower, they tie vines to their legs, they dive off head first, and if you walk away, because not everybody walks away, if you're a man. And boys start at this young age, maybe 8 or 10 years old, jumping from a much lower height. And then gradually you work your way up to the top of the tower. And then once you've done it and proven your manhood, then on a regular basis, I think it's on an annual basis, you just repeat the exercise and continue to show your manhood. And, I remember seeing this and thinking, that's just weird. It's just really weird. And then it hit me. These people are initiating their boys into manhood. And the process is dangerous and it seems a little odd and maybe a little bizarre from our standpoint.
Truly.
But they... and by the way, I'm not necessarily advocating...
No. Nor disrespecting, by the way.
Right. But they understood the power of initiation.
Exactly.
That's what I took away from that at that point. They understood the power of initiation and the gift that it is to young boys to show them, in their way, to show them what a man looks like, what a man does, who a man is, give them the opportunity to cross that threshold.
Yeah.
And then once they do, they don't go back.
No.
There's no doubt in those boys' minds that they have become a man once they've passed that test. And there's also no doubt in their minds what it looks like to be a man.
Yeah.
So that just absolutely captivated me. And it's like, that's what I'm missing. That's what we are missing culturally. There's no process that communicates to a boy what it looks like to be a man, the how to get there, which really is less about accomplishment and accumulation and more about just being.
Yes.
And then a recognition of once you've arrived, and that celebration and inclusion. So, we started to have children, and my oldest came along when I was about 26. He's now 18, and he'll be off to college in the fall. My second son came along a couple years after that. He'll be 16 here in a few months, and then we chose to adopt for various reasons.
Cool.
We went the adoption route. We adopted a girl, and she's now 13.
That's awesome.
And so we built our family, and as I'm raising these boys up, I'm thinking, I want to be able to give them this gift of initiation that I didn't have. So I had this great foundation, this great platform on which to build. I just want to build better. Yeah. I want to be able to look at Jacob and to look at Andrew and say, guys, you have now crossed from boyhood into manhood.
Yeah.
And as we talked last time, be that breath, that updraft of life as they fly the nest and launch out on their own, so that there will be no doubt they are enough.
Yeah.
They are enough, and that enoughness, if that's a word, that enoughness is what gives them their manhood. Yeah. Now, they won't have it all figured out. You can't replace experience. It's a journey. It's a marathon. It's the long run. It's not a sprint. But I want to give them that gift of initiation and that launch, so that there will never be a time after that launch, that celebration, where they have to wonder, am I a man? They can pull out their figurative man card and say, I'm a man because my dad told me, and he showed me how to get there, and what it's like to be a man. Like that's what I want. That's what I want. In fact, I've been taking both of my boys on a process. For them, it started when they were about 12. And my oldest will experience his ceremony here coming up.
Okay.
And like that's the culmination. I've been looking forward to this moment for probably 8 years.
That's awesome,
and
man.
It's now here. And he's ready, and I am ready, and it's going to be just such a powerful thing when we can accomplish that together. And man, it's just really, really cool to see it come together.
Yeah, that's cool, man. See, so okay. So last time we talked my story, and you say my story is amazing. I love hearing like your story. It gives me hope. You know what I mean? Like, dude, you had a great head start, but dude, you battled the same questions that I battled.
That's right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Your head went to the same place mine did of, wow.
Am I enough?
What
does it take?
Am I a man?
Right.
What the smack is a man? Like, and how do I get there, and by what transportation? Like, and so, man, I love it. I love it. It gives me hope.
well, thank you. I know there's power in sharing story, and you and I connected through our stories, and we both realized the ability to see through each other's eyes, to walk through each other's shoes, and yet the commonality that we have together of asking the same questions, and in some ways coming up blank, and then leaning into initiating something, starting something, so that our boys and our family coming behind don't have to wonder. But it's bigger than that. It isn't just about our families. What we're hoping is this to be a cascading effect, and dare I use the word movement, where we're encouraging other dads to just acknowledge that there's questions in your mind. Guess what? There's questions in every other dad's mind.
Everyone's.
And that's okay. And let's do it different now for our kids, for our sons in particular. That's really what I'm excited about, and in the direction that we're going here.
It's like it's a true culture shift.
Yeah.
Because like right now in our culture, we don't have that.
We don't.
Not here in the U.S. Like, we don't have that. And so, to me, I get excited, man, when we start talking about it. We start aiming for that point. It's interesting how, I think, did you start thinking about this as you're having kids or right before you start having kids?
Yeah,
like,
it was right around the time,
Yeah.
either shortly before or shortly after.
Yeah, man. Like, I remember, like, I had this Simba moment with my daughter. Like, oh man, like I was so hard. My heart was so hard, and I had this mindset of like, take or be taken kind of deal, and
Yeah.
just hard dude. And I remember my oldest one was born, and I held her in my arms. She literally, like, I put her head in my palm and her butt, like, and feet scrunched up, like, hit like where my elbow is.
Yeah.
And I remember standing and looking at her, and I started crying. Like, I was like, this is like me right here. This is part of me. Or like, this is my child. Like, I gotta raise her right. I'm planning
The
in my head.
pressure,
Yeah, the
the
pressure,
anxiety.
and I'm thinking like, oh, I'm gonna buy shotguns. That's what I'm gonna do. Shotguns and Boeing knives, and and like I'm gonna build like a little like room, and no boy is gonna enter the room.
Yeah.
You think about these things, right? And like, you want to protect your kid and whatever. But dude, look, I'm not trying to stereotype dads with daughter relationships or anything like that. I'm just telling you exactly where I was. Now with Quinn, something else came about. Like, I held him up. Like, the doctors, first of all, the doctor, and when Quinn came out, said it's a boy, and I exploded.
Oh wow!
Like, I was like, there's a guy. Like, I was like dominated 3 girls to 1.
Yeah,
in my
yeah.
house, like, And so I was like, and like now I'm thinking, oh, we're gonna go fishing and we're gonna go, you know what I mean? But then it's like the thoughts roll. I gotta raise this little boy to a man.
Yeah.
Like, how? Oh no, I gotta raise this little boy to a man. Like, something happens when you have kids, man.
And you were thinking that at that young
At that
of an age, right?
Like,
Wow.
I was like, dude, like, but it's something. I think. Look, if there's any fathers out there, or you're at this place where you're going, like, you have kids, or you think about having kids, and you're just like, man, how am I gonna do this? Like, that's what we want.
Yeah.
We want you to know that you're not alone, man. And it can come at any point. It can come from a background like mine or a background like Mark's. It can come from a person whose son is 10 to a person who has a son who's like 22. No matter who you are, like where you're at, like, dude, if you're a father and you're thinking about this question's been rolling around in your head, you're not alone, man.
Yeah.
And it's quite normal. And this is how we get to hear about it and work together to figure it out for ourselves. Not just for the masses, like this one size fits all, but for you, for me, for Mark, for other dads that are out there. How do you do this for your son? Like, this is the question that we're asking, and hopefully we'll get to it, man. Hopefully we'll get to it.
One of the things that I continue to realize is that just because guys aren't talking about it doesn't mean they're not thinking about it. You shared a story. I can't remember the exact example. Oh, it was that kindergarten teacher meeting.
Yes.
Where you're in the room and you're like, do we really belong here? I wonder if the guys sitting around the room were asking the same questions,
thing.
right? It's like we have these thoughts in our mind, and we think we're the only ones that have those thoughts. And it's just not true.
No.
And so we're trying to model what it looks like here, to have a conversation, to acknowledge some of these questions, maybe some insecurities, some doubt, some different stories, and how we can bring that together into this bigger conversation of doing it better for those that are coming behind us, right?
Yes.
Just recapturing this idea of initiation and the power that can have to usher boys into manhood.
Yeah, man. Sweet. Sweet.
Well, this has been cool. I appreciate the opportunity to share my story.
Yeah, thank you, Mark. Thank you, man.
Yeah,
thank you.
You're absolutely, and we'll see you guys next time.
Okay.
Hey, listeners, thanks for journeying with us on this Next Man Up podcast. You know, we would love to hear from you. Maybe you have a question or an idea, perhaps a topic for us to consider. If that's you and you want to reach out to us, you can get us at feedback@thenextmanup.com. That's feedback@thenextmanup.com. Again, we'd love to hear from you. Until next time, we'll see you later.